All right, good morning. Welcome to the Finance and Fiscal Resources Committee. It's Tuesday, May 16, and our first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak this morning? All right, seeing none, our next item is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Sparks, support by Commissioner McLeod. Questions, comments, changes to the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Our third item on the agenda comes from purchasing, and it's the Axon Public Safety Equipment.
Action requested. Authorize the Kent County Purchasing Division to consolidate the existing Axon body, vehicle camera safety equipment, maintenance agreements, and software, public safety package contracts, and to negotiate, extend, and execute the contract for an additional 6 years to 2025 to 2030, subject to the Board of Commissioners' annual appropriation of funds. Summary: Kent County negotiated and executed a contract with Axon Enterprise of Scottsdale, Arizona to purchase a public safety package, including body cameras, in-car cameras, and tasers, in 2020. The contract expires in 2024. The contract has been occasionally modified by adding and adjusting equipment, maintenance support, and software licenses. The Sheriff Department desires to consolidate and align the various amendments with the existing contract expiration date and with the county's October 1 fiscal year. There is a short window of opportunity to negotiate and extend the contract an additional 6 years at 2022 pricing levels. The existing and extended total contract value is approximately $7.2 million, billed annually at equal amounts from 2024 to 2030. The equipment will be funded in the Sheriff's annual budget. The contract will include a termination without cause and penalty clause if funds are not appropriated in the Board of Commissioners' annual budget. The purchase is exempt from bidding by fiscal policy, Central Purchasing Systems 7.8.2, computer, hardware, software, and 7.8.27, sole source, when determined to be in the best interest of the county. The contract is contingent on successful negotiation of terms and will be approved as to form by corporate counsel.
So moved. Support.
All right, moved and supported. You guys are quick. Questions or comments on this? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank Cal Brinks. This looks like it was kind of a complicated issue, a lot of moving parts, and I just appreciate the effort that the Purchasing Department placed on this.
All right, any other questions or comments? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question. So in the language right at the bottom of the action request, it said that this purchase is exempt from bidding by fiscal policy. I just wanted to make sure I understood why that is. Because it says if it's determined to be in the best interest of the county. I'd imagine that many things would fit into that category, and so I just wanted to understand what that is.
Yes, we have Cal Brinks. Cal, do you think you could come up and answer that question for us?
Good morning, and thank you for the question. Not everything applies. In the purchasing policy, there's certain exemptions that are exempt to the purchasing bid policy if they're unique items. In this instance, there's software involved and computer hardware involved, which is unique. And then also, at this point, we feel that this is really our only viable source to purchase this equipment from. And so we wanted to make you aware that we take it very seriously, and that is why we're referencing those 2 points of the policy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't realize it was sole source, and that makes total sense. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. Are all our existing body cams and everything from this same manufacturer, or is this kind of standardizing on this manufacturer?
I'll refer, I believe that I know the answer, but our expert here is Chief Deputy, and I'll let him answer that one.
Thank you, Brian Muir. Yes, so this is an expansion of our current body cameras. The Axon cloud environment is kind of the important part of our body camera. It's the storage for all the evidence that's collected with our body cameras, in-car solutions, and then how we're sharing data with other agencies. The unique part with Axon is they're the only manufacturer that provides tasers, which is, a critical point of our de-escalation strategy. So this is kind of an all-in-one solution for that.
All right. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you, Chief Deputy. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next item comes from Community Corrections. It's the authorization to submit the Community Corrections Comprehensive Plan and Grant Application.
Yes. Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the annual Community Corrections Comprehensive Plan and application for funding under PA 511 of 1988. Summary. Public Act 511 of 1988 provides funding for community corrections advisory boards to administer and operate programs to provide alternatives to incarceration for offenders. The state requires a resolution approving the plan submission from the Board of Commissioners. The anticipated grant period is October 1, 2023 to September 30, 2024. It is expected that the grant will be renewable. An appropriation request will be forthcoming after approval of the plan.
All right, is there a motion for this item? Who moved it? I did. Oh, Commissioner Hildenbrand, and then support by Commissioner Kallman. Perfect. Any questions or comments regarding this? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda comes from the Board of Commissioners Fiscal Services, and it's the authorization of a summer 2023 general operating property tax levy.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to authorize the summer 2023 general operating property tax levy. Summary. Pursuant to state law MCL 141.412 and 141.413, a notice of a public hearing concerning the 2023 county budget was published in a newspaper of general circulation on October 23, 2022, and a public hearing concerning the budget was held on November 3, 2022. The Kent County Board of Commissioners adopted a fiscal year 2023 appropriation on November 17, 2022. The 2023 adopted budget requires the levy of 4.1310 mills to be authorized for the 2023 summer tax billing, which has a tax levy date of July 1, 2023. Funds derived from the levy of this millage will be utilized to support general operating purposes included in the county's 2023 adopted budget.
Thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments regarding the authorization? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. I was just curious, what was our levy in 2022, Al? Do you know that?
It was the same.
Yep.
Oh, the millage, same amount, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thought you meant the dollars for a minute.
Yeah.
I thought, oops.
Any questions, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next item comes from the Kent County Community Action, and it's to amend the 2022-23 Michigan Energy Assistance Program Grant.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $27,856 in additional grant funds from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for the Michigan Energy Assistance Program, the MEAP program, to the 2022-23 Kent County Community Action Fund, contingent upon execution of an amended contract, and authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary. The Board of Commissioners previously appropriated $68,844 in grant funding along with $3,844 in general fund transfers in for the 2022-23 MEAP program with Resolution 0908-2296. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has made an additional $27,856 available for KCAA to increase services through the end of September 2023 for a total grant award of $96,700. The increase in funding will be utilized by KCAA to provide additional assistance to applicants with gas and electric energy bills enroll additional applicants into the utility providers' affordable payment plans, and provide further services that include needs assessments, vendor advocacy, financial education, energy waste reduction services, and short and long-term case management. Year-to-date, 144 gas and/or electric payments have been made with an average payment amount of $336. During the 2022 program year, $51,304 was spent on direct client services for gas and electric payments. The period of performance is October 1, 2022 through September 30, 2023. Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents as to form prior to signature.
All right, is there a motion for this item?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Oliver King, support by Commissioner Antor. All right, questions or comments? Commissioner Kallman.
So this is really just a minor detail, but that I wanted to say thanks for the original, like, resolution and budget was in there, and that's just really helpful context. And in this case, like, I think there was like an arrow or an X right next to the original, like, line item. That's just super helpful for me to kind of have that original context and just, like, obviously point it out, so I don't have to do a bunch of, like, tracking down through it. So whoever's doing that, thank you.
All right, we do have Gustavo Perez here to answer any questions, so Commissioner McLeod.
I would echo Commissioner Kallman's sentiments. That was very helpful. So this is great that more money is available for this program. Just wondering what differences might ensue over this next 4 months with this additional funding. So year-to-date, 144 people have been, payments have been made, and how many more people might be served, and then will the average payment that is going to support electric payments increase at all, or will it stay the same?
I think the average is going to stay the same, so we're going to kind of pick it up a little bit more, get with our community partners, see who needs assistance, get more referrals in. We're on pace at the number that we're at to probably hit about 82,000, so we've already met with our team and said, where can we get that extra 8,000 to 10,000 spent down, and so we've already partners and saying, hey, we've got hopefully coming our way, and so that'll we'll have to ramp up a little bit a few months to make sure we hit that target.
And one follow-up question, so did you apply for these extra dollars, and if so, was there just an increased need for the funding given the financial situation that we're currently in?
So a little bit of both. We didn't apply for it, but we are ahead of schedule of where we were last year. So we're about $48,000 spent down. All of last year, $51,000, and so we're pretty much ahead of schedule. So when you do that, they usually say, hey, can you spend a little bit more? And so that's where we are right now. But I do see an increased demand. Since the end of COVID emergency rental assistance, everyone's kind of scrambling around looking for assistance dollars, and so we have seen an increase there.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no, nay. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. All right, the motion passes. Next item on the agenda comes from the Circuit Court, the Mental Health Court, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the SAMHSA grant.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $400,000 from the Department of Health and Human Services Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA office, to the Special Projects Fund for the 17th Circuit Court Mental Health Court, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary. On March 9, 2017, the Board of Commissioners accepted and appropriated a mental health court planning grant awarded by the State Court Administrative Office, SCALE, for the 17th Circuit Mental Health Court. A mental health court is a specialized court docket for certain defendants with mental illness that substitutes a problem-solving model for traditional criminal court processing. The Board of Commissioners approved the first, second, third, and fourth years of the $400,000 grant award from May 31, 2019 through May 30, 2022, on Resolution 627-1954, 514-2048, 513-2145, and 526-2268. Grant dollars will be used to contract for the following services: transportation, program coordination, clinical support, data entry, program involvement, drug tests, and legal defense. The goals of the program include improving public safety by reducing recidivism, improving quality of life, and increasing participation in effective treatment, and reducing court and corrections-related costs through administrative efficiencies, and often by providing an alternative to incarceration. 30 individuals currently participate, and the court can enroll 40 new participants with this additional $400,000. The fifth term of the grant is May 31, 2023 through May 30, 2024.
All right, thanks, Al.
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Sparks. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Green. Questions or comments regarding this? Commissioner Sparks.
I have seen these courts in action, and they are very effective. So I'm really excited that we're going to be able to expand the court. So thank you.
Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. I was just curious, first of all, I support the mental health court 100%. I'm just wondering what criteria is used to determine whether or not someone is eligible for special consideration.
Thanks for joining us today.
You, Terry Clark, Project Director and the Court Coordinator. Eligibility criteria, kind of exciting. We actually expanded this year so we could serve some more people. So initially they were eligibility criteria included some legal eligibility criteria. State statute omits some folks with violent crimes that result in significant injury up to murder, as well as criminal sexual conduct charges. They also have to meet the clinical criteria, and that's where we expanded this last year. It used to be that they had to have a serious mental illness. About 3 years ago, we kind of expanded that, appreciating that there is such a high incident of co-occurring disorders. So we wrote for the SAMHSA grant, and we expanded to really be more inclusive and thoughtful with co-occurring disorders with that substance abuse element. And then just this last year, we did expand. We partnered with all the district courts to take folks from the district court so they don't have to have a felony charge anymore. They can have a misdemeanor with, typically it's mandated jail time, whether it's 3 months up to a year. But if we have somebody with a misdemeanor charge who wants to come in because they want the accountability of the court to stay in services for a significant period of time, and then to successfully complete their legal obligations, we will take them. They do have to meet that clinical criteria. So still looking at high risk, high need.
I guess I might kind of drill in a little bit deeper down on
Sure.
this. My only concern would be, can someone game the system? I mean, how are we determining whether or not they're actually mentally ill or they're playing the part to possibly dodge the incarceration piece of this? And, you know, people get creative sometimes when they're desperate. So I was just curious. I understand the system, but who's actually making that final determination whether or not they fit into this or not? Is it a mental health technician, some sort of criteria that they're using that?
We have 2 clinical liaisons that we contract with Network 180 who do the clinical screening. We found that we had some gaps, and we did have some folks coming in who really just wanted to get out of jail, especially since we were taking more people directly out of jail and not from bond. And so we have instituted what we call a provisional period. It's 30 days. So we accept them on a provisional status. It's basically a 30 days where they can try it out. We get to assess them to see whether are they going to drug test, are they going to show up to court, are they going to engage in therapy. Some come in services, so we want to make sure that they are participating in that therapy, not just showing up or not showing up at all. Those that don't have services at the time of that provisional intake, the expectation is within 30 days, they at least get connected to, get some appointments scheduled, and hopefully they can get started, but sometimes it's out of their control. So we have built in that 30 period of time that gives us a longer assessment period as well. And it has been very, very helpful.
Very helpful for
Yeah.
me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
All right, great question. Any other questions or comments? All right, thanks for the information, Terry, I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you.
All right, so all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next item comes from the Friend of the Court, and it's the fiscal year 2024-2028 Title 4D Cooperative Reimbursement Grant.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the Friend of the Courts FY '24 through 2028 Title 4D Cooperative Reimbursement Program Agreement with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to accept and appropriate up to $64,733,527 from the MDHHS and the County General Fund and Program Income to the Special Projects Fund, and to authorize the county board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement and approve grant extensions and changes within 15% of the original award. The MDHHS provides funding to counties to operate a cooperative reimbursement program to enforce court orders and child support. Beginning in FY 2017, the state moved to a 5-year grant application cycle to reduce the workload and processing requirements for the state and the county, with an extension granted in 2022-23. Funding levels will be reviewed and adjusted annually, with general fund support included in the annual budget recommendation. The projected allocations for October 2023 through September 30, 2028 are as follows. So 2024, the state appropriation would be $7,576,748. 2025, $7,970,259. 2026, $8,264,292. 2027, $8,657,072. 2028, okay, 8,981,775 for a total of $41,450,146 in state funding over those years. And again, the board would only appropriate the county general fund amount each year with the annual budget, but over those years, it would total $17,745,381, and then there would be other funding of $5,538,000 for a grand total of $64,733,527. The application proposes that the Friend of the Court continue to operate with 104 full-time positions, including 3 Sheriff Road Patrol deputy positions assigned to the FOC to focus on warrant enforcement. In addition, the grant will cover a portion of personnel costs of 14 staff from the Circuit Court Family Division, referees and referees clerks. In the event grant funding is eliminated or decreased, the positions will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to the fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations.
All right, that was a lot of numbers. Thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Kallman. Questions or comments regarding these grant dollars? Commissioner Kallman.
Thank you, Chair. I guess a couple of questions. The program income, I assume that's an estimate, but what is the source of the program income in this case? And 2, is there some kind of formula or something to determine like MDHHS portion versus the county portion?
Good questions, and we have someone here to address that.
Good morning, Tracy Schenkel, Kent County Friend of the Court. Thanks for the question, and I appreciate the confusion because we often deal with the same confusion and we live in this world. So I'm going to defer to our financial expert and in-house accountant, Wendy Charbonneau, for those questions.
Morning, I'm Wendy Charbonneau, Financial Supervisor with the Friend of the Court. The program income is other income sources that we are allowed to collect at Friend of the Court. There are service fees, processing fees, evaluation fees. For 2024, the number is different than the other years because we're going to sell a vehicle that we own. So there's gain on the proceeds of the sale of the vehicle. So they're just other different fee sources. Through our MISA system, they charge a $2 service fee a month, and then processing bench warrant fees.
Is there a formula of how much comes from the county general fund versus the state MDHHS dollars?
Eligible 40 expenditures have a 66% grant reimbursement. So we do the grant billing and 66% the state pays, and then the balance after all the other revenue the county pays.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Thanks so much for the information. All right, that brings us to our next item on the agenda, and it's the first quarter financial status report, and we have Jeff Dode here to give us that report.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. I'll try to be brief. The first quarter is always a little bit of a challenge because it's so early in the year to make comparisons, but just overall, everything's on track, but we'll go over some specific details here. You can see overall through the first quarter, revenues have increased from 16.4 to 25.4 million, or 54.5%. Expenses have increased from 39.1 to 40.9, 4.5%. Some of the larger items in revenue variances, primarily taxes. Taxes, I remember last year they were low the first quarter. It was kind of an anomaly, and this year they're high the first quarter. So that actually made for a larger difference, 288% over last year's quarter. So we don't anticipate that will continue throughout the year. It'll level out as taxes pay and become close to budget. So investment rents and royalties are another large item, 5.9 million this year, up 577%. Our treasurer, our esteemed treasurer, had a big mark-to-market adjustment this year, which is I don't know if you want to explain it or no? You're good? Okay. Thanks, Pete. Anyway, it's as interest rates rise, the value of our our investments increase, and you got to make adjustments. It's an accounting term. So anyway, it can make for large increases and decreases. In the end, when we settle the asset, the amounts will be what we expected, but it does account for some of these changes. So. There's some other things, charges for services, 42% decrease in real estate transfer tax. Interest rates are rising, so we're seeing a little bit of slow there. Intergovernmental revenue is up as well, and that's to increase state revenue sharing, which was expected. Moving on to the expenditure side, personnel. Oops, I should be moving my slides. I apologize. So personnel is up 24.39 to 25.62, or 5%. That's consistent with our negotiated wage increases. So nothing out of the ordinary there. Supplies category, it's got some variances, fairly minor, but mainly due to timing of expected revenues, and it should even out throughout the year. Capitals increased from 0.39 to 0.49, 23%, and that's due to timing of vehicle acquisitions in the Sheriff Department, but nothing out of the ordinary. And then transfers out have increased, and that aligns with our budget. And for fund balance, we still anticipate meeting our 40% fund balance by the end of the year. On the next page, this is a little bit different variation over the expenditures. The revenues are the same, however, it shows the expenses by department. There's a few variances here, but again, we watch this very closely and don't anticipate any overages by the end of the fiscal year. Moving on to our fund balance, you can see we're up from last year, from 84.6 to just under 87 million, with 27 million assigned to economic stabilization and 47.7 million assigned to cash flow. So very good numbers there. Moving on to the next page, you can see our cash on hand went from 61 million to 66 million, or 92 days expressed in days of coverage. So very good days of coverage of cash. Next page is our typical cash flow chart. You can see our low period is always in June, July, and that's when our taxes start coming in. That's why we carry a significant cash flow, or our fund balance, to carry us in that low time. And then you'll see it's trending with previous years, so nothing out of the ordinary there. And then lastly, we'll move to our lodging excise tax fund, which we've been watching very carefully since COVID. You can see revenues are up about 17% to 1.6 million, so still a very large rebound. I believe they've already exceeded their 2019 numbers. So they still do owe us $10 million out of that fund, but we anticipate taking the first payment back to the general fund in 2024. So very good numbers there as well. So that was a very quick summary. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All All right, questions? Commissioner Hildenbrand.
Thank you, Chair. So winter taxes are due in February, property taxes?
Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
So the increase is primarily the tax revenue from property taxes, specifically the 4.1310 general county operating property tax?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
that property tax line, yes.
Okay.
And it was strange, last year it was really low for the first quarter, we thought it was an anomaly, and this year it's high, so that's what made it even a bigger difference, so. I don't know why, if people had more money at the end of the year, that they decided to pay them, in the first quarter, but that varies year to year.
Right, okay. And technically, we have 3 quarters for this year, right? The new fiscal
Correct.
year starts October 1. so-
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
But we're still considering this first quarter for this fiscal year?
Correct,
going
yes.
forward. So, okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
Good to see we're up this year over last year. Are the collection rates higher this year as well, as far as compared to, when you have delinquencies and so forth? Are we doing a better job collecting?
Pete would probably know the answer to that better, I know we did. Can you want to answer that one? The answer is yes.
So, I mean, not talking about total amount, but the rate of people paying, are we, the people are sometimes habitually delinquent. Are we seeing less of that? I know we're taking in more money, but.
We did issue D10s again this year. We did a variable rate note, and that was around 13.1, which is up slightly from last year. I think it was 12.4, 12.6 last year. So
Okay.
a slight increase in the delinquencies, but not a lot.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Jeff. Good morning. One quick question that I had, I really appreciate the expenditures by department. That's a helpful view for us. One thing that jumped out to me was the line for policy administration with a 56% increase over Q1 last year. Can you provide a little bit detail what that's?
Sure. So I looked into that, and I believe a lot of that is timing of the contracts and membership dues. Those were the 2 largest lines that increased. And I think they signed some large contracts in the first quarter, so we're hoping that'll even out throughout the rest of the year. They're also fully staffed, I believe, as of January 1, so the personnel lines are up a little bit from previous years as there was some lapse in vacancies, so.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious, the mark-to-market rule, is that like our policy? Is that a GASB rule?
The GASB rule, yes.
And is that something we have to do on an annual basis?
We do it for the audit each and every year, of course, but yeah, mainly on the annual basis.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? One question I have is regarding the cash on hand. Do we have a best practice or a target for the days of cash on hand?
We like to see, I'm trying to remember, I might have to get back to you on that. I think we like at least 3 months, 90 days of cash flow. But we actually watch the chart a little closer on the next page to make sure we're not dipping down too low on that cash flow chart, so we can have available cash on hand to meet our expenditures. But as a guideline, 80 to 90 days is what's comfortable for us.
Okay. All right. I know every department or organization has, different goals, and I think the airport, we have over like 300 days cash on hand. So something we try to strive for to be able to run that facility the way it runs. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add at all?
Nope, thank you.
All right. Our next item on the agenda is miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner miscellaneous? Commissioner Antor.
I gotta mention this, I've never done this before, but my granddaughter Avery ran in the Florida State Track and Field Championship, and she is now the 2nd fastest middle schooler in the entire country.
Oh.
She got beat by a 1.5 seconds against a girl that usually beats her by 40 seconds. Every state runs this national thing the same weekend. And Florida just happens to have some of the better runners, and she's ranked number 2 in the 3,000 and number 3 in the 1,500. She just started running a year ago, so I'm very proud of her. I don't get opportunities like this very often to talk about her, so. That's awesome. She wants to be an Olympian.
I was
She's,
going to say, what year? Let's see.
yeah, she's 12.
Okay.
And so anyhow, very, very proud of her. So thank you.
Congratulations. Any other commissioner miscellaneous? All right, seeing none, our next event that we have at 9:30 is a fiscal, or a facilities, yeah, something that starts with an F. Facilities work session. So feel free to stay for that. We'd love to inform you and with any questions or comments you have. But for that, our meeting is adjourned, and our next meeting will be Tuesday, June 6th at 8:30 a.m. And we are adjourned.